Let's talk about tonight. We've been talking a lot about uh, contracts and listing agreements and buyer broker agreements and all this stuff, right? And we know that this stuff is all obviously important. It's all, procedural. And most importantly, it's required. So we got to do this stuff to really get, stay compliant, get paid, and not get fined, right? But when we're talking with people, how do we get there, right? We talked about building rapport, okay? And we have to ask, and while we're building rapport, discovery questions are these questions that we're going to ask to find out what the person is actually looking for, okay?
What's wrong?
What's that?
I'm sorry.
Okay. This is much more than just, what do you need? 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet, located in whatever area. Okay. This is much bigger than that. This is, you need to find out what somebody wants out of their life, right? What is driving them to make the choices? We've already discussed, right, that, each one of us, just on this call here, every one of us has a different viewpoint on life. Every one of us is looking at something different. So what drives us, the motivations, the things that keep us going, right? The things that, motivate this move. Not too long ago, Daniel and Ellie, you guys moved from Miami to Naples, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right? There was a reason there, right? There was
Yeah.
a reason that drove you there, right?
Yeah.
Elisa made a big move a couple years ago, right? There's a reason there, okay? Whatever the reasons are right now, we need to figure that out to get our people where they need to be. Okay. So, we find out what's driving them, and then what are their needs? The needs, those are the things that we can accomplish, but those things that are driving people are really what would create the opportunity to figure out how fast they're going to move, build rapport, the whole bit. Does that make sense? Good evening, Lauren. I know you came in a little bit late, but we were actually just talking about discovery questions. Okay. And just to reiterate, we've been talking a lot about listing agreements and buying contracts and buyer brokers and all that stuff. And that's all the mechanical stuff. What we can't do is what that doesn't do is it doesn't put us on the same playing field as everybody. Okay. So I created this, and I was just trying to upload it to Drive, and for whatever reason, it is not working for me. So we'll just have to work with what we got here. I will get this out in an email to everybody. These are just some general questions. Now, I put this in this format because I don't want this to be a script. Okay. This document is not to be a script, but it is to be some general information that you're going to need, right? So the stuff like here, okay, general information, what type of property you're looking for, budget, pre-approved or more, for a mortgage, or paying cash, right? Desired move-in time frame. Okay, these things, right? These are the mechanical components. Does that make sense? I highlighted a few of these because these are the ones that are going to be a lot more that are really are the determining factor on whether or not I buy that 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot house in Sebastian or Miami or Tampa or Orlando, right? There's differences there. Lifestyles and amenities, okay? Every one of us has a different lifestyle, correct? Right? We all have different likes. Not that any one of them is right or wrong, but we need to figure out what are these things that they're looking for. Are there any specific amenities you want nearby? Right? Lauren, what do you like to do in your free time?
Thrifting, the beach, and working out.
Okay. Thrifting, the beach, and working out. Eddie, do any of those things excite you?
I'll go with the beach.
Okay. So 1 out of 3. Okay. Right. And not that that's bad, but if I was, looking at thrifting, beach, and working out and trying to sell that same lifestyle to Eddie, I just missed 66% of the mark. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I'm definitely not down with working out.
All right. I'm not judging. All right. But just in one small instance here, we can see that there's differences in people. Does that make sense? So, Eddie, what do you like to do?
Play pool, live music, boating, beach, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right, cool. Different lifestyle, right? But is it important for not only me to know that so I can find him the right home, but also it helps to build rapport. Okay. And I've talked about it before. Building rapport ultimately is building emotional equity. Okay. And by that, right, if I'm building a relationship with Daniel and he's my buyer and he knows I'm on time and I'm listening to what he wants, and for the most part, I'm sending him homes that are, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet that he needs. And then I accidentally mess up the criteria and I start sending him condos for some reason, whatever. But Daniel already told me that he hates condos, right? He's probably going to let it slide. No big deal, right? It was a simple mess up. But if I've already been dropping the ball and I didn't listen to anything else that Daniel said, that might be the final straw. Make sense? So, are there any amenities that you want nearby? Parks, gyms, right? Beach, right? I know, there's a lot of that around here. I was actually just on the phone with somebody talking about how Okeechobee is blowing up, right? And growing. Now, of course, my joke about it was, yeah, of course Okeechobee's blowing up, right? All the people that get kicked out of all the cool areas got to go to Okeechobee if they want to stay in Florida, right? Now, it's a joke, but, there is if you're a beach person, you probably don't want to be in Okeechobee, correct? Right? It's different reasons for moving there. Okay. Do you need a home office or specific, work from home space? Right? Is that something big in today's environment? How many people on this call work from home? Right? I have I come to the office every day. There's a lot of times I work from home too. Right? Everybody here does. So that's something to, keep in mind. And now also, these are not the only questions. These are just some examples. All right. So there's other things that you can ask for. Do you have pets? Right? Anybody here have pets? And then you guys, Daniel, you don't have pets? Lauren, no?
Yeah, I have too many pets.
Eddie has them. All right. So actually we're 50-50 on this call. So that actually is lower than I expected. Right? But it happens. Right? People that have pets, I mean, that's part of their life. Right? I just got a call for the 1-bedroom for the little efficiency apartments. Girl wants to know if they'll take dogs. You know what kind of dog she wants to put in that apartment?
Big one.
Absolutely. A Mastiff.
Oh, God.
It's like 180 pounds. It's as big as the apartment.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not going to work. Right? That doesn't make sense. So, sound good? Future plans. Right? Is that something that's important to know? Right? For a lot of different reasons, right? How long do you plan to stay in this home? If somebody tells me that they're planning, let's just say a veteran, right, or an active duty service member, Marine Corps, right, they get transferred every 3 years. If they're going to come into this market and they're going to come here and they're going to buy a home and expect to sell it in 3 years, would I put them in a new construction home? No, because that's a retail product. It's going to take a lot longer to build up that equity so they can sell it, without losing money in this market, right? Maybe we'll have another jump, but it doesn't look that way right now, right? But maybe they want to buy something to fix her up and fix it up over the next 3 years. Okay, that's something, right? Or maybe we want to talk about if they want to put it into property management when they leave in 3 years, right? Make sense? Are you planning any major life changes that could affect your housing needs, right? Family, retirement. Is that something that could affect us? Right. So a little while ago, where'd she go? Oh, there you go. A little while ago, we were looking, before we took this office, we were looking for a place to call home for our team. Okay. And for those of you that have been to the office, we're 1,200 square feet here, right? For what we need, it's probably even bigger than what we need right now because we don't have a lot of people coming in. But we know we're expecting to grow and have more agents coming in, yada, yada, whatever. But before I found this place, I found a building that I really liked. Okay. It was 5,000 square feet. Okay. Huge building, much more than we could use. But the way it was configured, right, it was subdividable where I could rent out, the units. So I would take a quarter and then rent out the other 3/4 of the building. Okay. And then eventually, as we grew the team, my intention was to take those back slowly, until we got to that point where we needed the whole place. Now, we didn't go forward on it because there was a bunch of problems with the property. But, that's on a business side. But could somebody be looking at possibly having children or maybe an elderly parent that's going to have to come live with them someday? Right? Right. Has anybody seen any multi-generational households around here?
Yes.
100%. Right. That's one of the big things that's going on. And actually, a lot of the builders are now offering multi-generational floor plans. Right. So it's super important to identify these types of things. Make sense? Now, just on these questions that we've asked so far, do you think that will build your rapport or not? Now, now when we have when we do this stuff, right, we're building a rapport, right? And especially with these new regulations where we have to get a buyer broker sign and all this stuff. Do you think it's going to be easier to get them to sign this extra paperwork if they know that you're already listening to what they have to say? Right? With me, I talk about my own situations because of the fact that it happened. I was there. Right? Talk about how when I set my criteria for my last house, I was looking for a 3-car garage, a pool, and a double lot. Right? Now I know this. I'm in this business. I've been doing this for a while. But still, the house I bought had none of those. Right? Because I wasn't even listening to myself at the time. Right? I knew what I told myself I wanted, but really what I wanted was this layout that I could enjoy the inside, and it's about the Florida lifestyle. Right? I live on a canal. I have the scenic view of the water without the title, the title components that go with flood insurance and everything else. I got my house at a song and a dance when you look at it that way. Right? And I have no intentions of leaving there. Okay. But if I was the client and my client gave me that, and as I was listening to looking back on it, what I was actually saying with my actual actions, I would have picked up on that. And if I would have presented that house, it would have built that much more rapport, knowing that somebody was listening to what I actually needed and not just what I said on the outside. Make sense? But we get there by asking these discovery questions. Any thoughts? Daniel, any reason why you can't ask discovery questions?
No, at the beginning, I guess is part of being shy or inexperienced on the business. That some people may be afraid of asking question and come on the wrong side of the customer and don't get the customer.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. Now, you've been married to Ellie for how long?
Well, Mary, 12 years
12
together,
years.
20 something years. I already lost the count.
So you were together 20 years.
Yep.
And you only married for 12.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
been ups and downs.
So let's throw this out there for a second, guys. All right. That's 8
Should I
years.
come into the
Oh.
conversation? No.
What's that?
Should I come into the conversation?
Absolutely, yeah.
No, just kidding. That was a fun fact to see him on the spot like that.
I'm sorry, what?
That was a fun thing to watch.
Well, guys, that's 8 years of Daniel asking discovery questions until he convinced Ellie to come off the market and marry him.
Most likely it was me just decided by myself that I have to get married.
That's fine. Right? But do you see my point here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You don't just go in for the kill and, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Want to buy a house?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have to, ease into it. Let them know that we care. And by asking these, finding out truly about somebody's life, right? A lot of you guys on here have kids, right? And you're all grateful that they're going back to school. Finally got some of my time back, right? But those people that at the beginning of the school year, what am I going to do with the kids all summer long? I sent out a bunch of people some different camps and things to do with kids and, various different links that I found along the way, right? Not places I'm going, right? LaPorte Farms, right? They have the little petting zoo over here, right? It's a great place for people with kids. I'm not going there, right? Middle-aged single guy with no kids going into a petting zoo, not where I want to be, right? But for them, the discovery questions, I'm listening to what they're saying and I'm providing that value. Okay. Now more on the, some other options that we can do. Motivations, right? This is something that can uncover a lot of our motivations as well, right? Why are you selling the property? I mean, straight up, why are you selling it? A lot of people will tell you exactly what's going on. Saturday, I'm going on a listing appointment, right? Lady's father died and the house is just about out of probate. She doesn't want the house. She just wants it gone. Okay. Is that an easier sell or a harder sell? Lauren.
I would guess easy because she doesn't want it.
Okay. All right. Stony Point, right? Some of you guys have been to Stony Point, right? So most of you have seen the pictures. Is it a pretty house?
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Okay. When I went there, she assured me that, because unfortunately her husband had passed away a few years ago. She assured me she was over the anything emotional going along with it. Right? I guarantee you, I promise you, in the conversations we've had, she is not over it. Okay? So we have to be careful because somebody could tell you that they're over it completely. I don't know what I'm walking in on Saturday. What I know is that we had a death in the family. It was a father. The house is now going to be sold. But I have to tread with caution there because I know the reason why they're selling it, but I don't know if there's any underlying concerns. Does that make sense? So we have to ask more discovery questions than just why are you selling it. I mean, it's a good place to start, but we have to be careful. Right. Heather was on here last week or whatever, and she was talking about how she tried to take the door because her kids' heights were marked on there. Right. Some of you guys might have been on here when she was talking about that. Okay, so for some of you guys that have just tuned in, we're talking about discovery questions and why these are so important. Building rapport, finding out what that client really, really, really needs and wants out of their home. Right? We know that this is the best investment out there. It's the one place where you can build equity and a financial future for your family. We know that. But I also know that people buy emotionally. Right? Can we agree on that? Sherry, have you ever had anybody get emotional on you during a sale of a home?
All the time.
100%. Right? Monica, what
Used
about
to be
you?
me. Used to be me.
Yeah.
Then I learned not to get emotionally involved. Yep.
100%. Monica, what about you? You with us?
Definitely. Yes.
So, without a doubt, like I've said, I used to think I would get in. I would be more on the commercial side because investors look at the numbers. Right? It's not an emotional thing. They're still emotional. Right? I have a guy, a close personal friend. The guy he's analytical about everything. I know they have. Last time I checked their financials, they were over $13 million liquid in cash. Okay. And they decided to start buying houses around the 250 mark and flip them. Right. One at a time. They were kind of semi-retired and they don't really need the money. But he's like, no, this is a business. This is going to be, we're going to do it by the numbers. And every house we go into is an emotional roller coaster. Okay. He wants to put in custom features, custom tubs. I got to have it like this. I'm like, dude, you're going to sell it in 30 days. What does it matter? Just make it look what everybody else wants. No, I want to put my touches on it. Okay. So he's trying to create these works of art, which, in $250,000 range doesn't make any sense. Right. But to him, it does. Make sense?
Yeah, when I bought my pad split, I was at Walmart and I was on the phone with my realtor and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna get them a coffee maker and I'm gonna get them hangers and I'm gonna get them." She's like, "That's not an Airbnb." She goes, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." I'm like, "No, no, no. Like I want them to when they come in." She just kept saying, "Stop spending your money." Like I wanted it to make it all. And that's not exactly what was going to happen when they moved in. They would have taken everything and, it would have been terrible. But I did still do some things because I did want them to have a nice experience. But she just kept telling you, actually, take the emotion out of it. That's not what this is about. It's like, fine.
So I have a Stony Point, right? You guys, the property. Okay. We did everything by the book like we always do. Okay. Now, I haven't had a chance to verify it yet, but everybody knows that this is a $500,000 house that we're selling. Okay. It's got an HOA. The HOA fees are $673 per year. It's a very low HOA. All right. The lady who is interested in it, and she actually just called me up. She's like, interested, but there's a discrepancy. You know what the discrepancy is? I haven't verified it yet. She says I told her it was $673 per year. It's actually $672.
Jeez Louise.
Okay. You know what? I'll get to it. I mean, is that really going to be the thing that makes or breaks this deal?
Did she really say that? That's real?
100%. Yeah, that's 100% a real conversation. All right.
Okay.
People get caught up on this. Okay. But the discovery questions, we got to get there because if she's harping over $1 in a $500,000 transaction, there is something else there that she's concerned with. Right? Can we agree on that?
Or that she's going to complain about.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't care what she complains about. As long as she makes it past the 30 days into settlement, we're good. Right. I mean, if that's the case, if we want to look at it that way. But, because I don't represent her. I represent the seller. And this actually came, she came through her realtor. Right. So, and I don't mean to sound cold like that, but ultimately at the end of the day, for that, it doesn't really matter. I got to figure out what the discrepancy is there. Because if she's going to have objections, what else is she going to have? Make sense? Target price in mind, right? And that's on the selling side or the buying side. All right. Some other important things to keep in mind: logistics and timing. Right? When are you looking to list your property, or when are you looking to buy your property? Right? Is that important? Yeah, 100%. Lauren, you just presented me an offer a little while ago on our property, right?
Yes, I did.
I like it. Now, when are you trying to settle?
September 16th.
Okay. A little more than 30 days. Why do we need the extra time?
It's contingent on their condo selling.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, there's other considerations there. So, I hear an extra couple weeks may not be a big deal, or it may be a home sale contingency. Right. So now I got to dive into it. Make sense? So all this stuff that we need to figure out, right? Are there any specific dates, timeframes that are important to you? Has anybody ever met my sister? I know a few of you guys on here have. Right? Everything my sister does has to be something numbers matching. Right? She got married on, what was it? January. I forget what the day was, but it was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 was the number, scenario, or something crazy like that. Right? It's got, there's people like that. She wants these numbers, these crazy, patterns or whatever. Right? So what is it that's important to you? Maybe they want to, stay away from a date. Right? Don't want to move into the house the same date as the last one because the last one went horrible. Right? Make sense? Or I don't want to be moving in during the middle of my kid's graduation. Right? Tracy's not here, but she was in the middle of trying to buy a house, move into it, have her kid's college graduation, and everybody was coming in from out of town. Right? She didn't plan it that way, but that's the way it worked out. Make sense? All right. Do you have any contingencies or conditions? We already discussed that. Legal and financial considerations. Okay. This one's kind of neat. I got a phone call, all right, from a woman that I went to high school with. She says, "Hey, Chris, I know you're down here in Florida. I want you to sell my dad's house." I go down. He's a veteran. He's Army vet. So me and him got along, right? Everything seemed normal, right? Did the listing paperwork. I got the guy. I mean, I got the owner. I know her from high school. I've known her for years. I've known the family, right? I talked to the dad, who's actually the one selling it. He signs the paperwork. Wouldn't you know? I get it. I get a letter. Nope, can't sell it. It's got to go through the courts. There was a court-mandated guardian appointed. Honestly, I didn't even think to ask him. I knew him, right? We got it done. It'll settle, I think, next week, right? But we have to ask, is there any other legal issues or anything that we have to deal with? Probate, right? That's a big one down here.
Can you explain probate a little more? Because I have been hearing it a lot and I really don't know the details.
The short answer of probate is after somebody passes away, right? Unless the house was, deeded properly, what they have to do is they basically have to do like a public notice and allow any creditors to come forward. So it's kind of like like an incubation period. They have to put public notices out. They have to let everybody respond. And then after, typically on a small estate, it's about 4 months it takes. And then you can sell the house. Make sense?
So real
So-
quick, there's also instances where when the court has to approve it, you still can be in contract. There's language that I have that put in the contract so that it makes the buyer understand that it is contingent upon. And I, again, knock wood, I've never had a court refuse it, right, Chris, and say no.
Yes, with it. Yes, I agree with you. And actually, I
ahead.
did get the court one time to allow us to settle before probate was done.
Wow.
Okay. However, none of the proceeds were released until probate was over. So it's one of those things, in this particular case, they felt strong enough. They let us sell it. We closed on it, and the funds and the sellers didn't care, right? Because it was the heirs. The money sat in an escrow account. I think it was close to 2 months. And then when that was done, it was dispersed.
Did they let the buyers move in?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was in an escrow.
They took possession. It was owned in cash. There was no mortgage on it. So it was like a $250,000 condo, and everything went into escrow.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can do that, and also, guys, then we also can talk to the probate attorney and find out where it is and all that stuff, and you disclose it in the MLS, and you still can go into contract. You just have to manage everyone's expectations. You hear me say that a lot, and I've never had a problem with the buyers waiting. I had one that did take 4 months or so, but boy, she was getting a steal, so she waited.
Yep. So on that, a funny story on that one. I listed a house over in near Orlando, right? It was a townhouse, and it was a mother and her son and daughter-in-law were on the deed. Okay, they had done a quick claim deed to get everybody on. We list the house. It was when all the market was going crazy, and we went like 16, 17 offers. It was silly, and of course, in the middle of the contract, my seller dies. Okay, so. But the market's going nuts. The other two sellers, they're like, hey, we're cool. Buyer says, hey, you know what? It actually works out well for us because we had a lease we were going to have to terminate to get here. So they wrote out probate with us. Okay. Right. So everything was good. 4.5 months, whatever. We settled on the property. Now here's where it gets fun. Okay. We settled on that property about, 7, 8 months later. The son, who was one of the sellers, calls me up, says, Chris, he says, my aunt lives in the same community. She wants you to sell her house. Okay. Now, while they were doing this, right, his mom dies. It was chaos. We had probate, but we still built enough rapport, and they were so appreciative of what I did that they referred me to the aunt. Okay. I get over there. She actually called me, for anybody who hasn't seen my car. Right. She says, do you have one of those stickers on the car? Because my next door neighbor is a neighbor and she's going to be upset. I'm listing with somebody else. So I had to drive my old piece of junk truck. All right. Because my car is fully wrapped and, there was no way of getting around it. I get over there. And the first thing she says to me when I walk through the door, she holds up her hand and she says, I just want you to know I'm not going to pull that crap my sister pulled, which was die in the middle of the transaction. Okay. So that was one of my favorite transactions.
She died too. I was gonna say, stay away from.
Oh no, that was one of my favorite transactions. She was 85 years old. I had to be there for my appointments between 9 and 10 a.m. Anytime I wanted to meet her, 9 and 10 a.m. because 10 a.m. was wine time. She was on medication, and she had to start drinking wine at 10 a.m.
Love that.
So, I mean, she was a lot of laughs. But by asking and staying engaged with the family, and I still stay in touch with them today. Okay. You build this stuff. You find the discovery questions, right? Things like this are going to happen. Legal stuff, probate, guardians, emotional stuff, right? Whatever it is, this stuff is going to happen. But if you ask the discovery questions and you really get to know the person, you will build a client for life. Right? You'll hear people say it's easier to turn a client into a friend than a friend into a client. And it's because we get so intimate with these people. We know their credit history and their financials and how much they have in the bank, right? All this stuff. I mean, that's personal for a lot of people, right? I don't know about you. I'm not showing my bank account to just anybody. Make sense? So ask the discovery questions. Now here's another one that you want to keep in mind here too. Communication preferences. Now for everybody that knows me knows that I truly believe you need to pick up the phone and call people, right? As opposed to just a text message. However, Lauren, do you prefer to text or call?
I would prefer to text, but like my client today, I've called him 3 times, and every time he'll text me right back. I'm like, okay, we'll just text.
Okay. Yeah. Now there's reasons why I like the good old-fashioned phone call. However, I do understand that certain people are going to be more prone to texting or emails or whatever it is, right? I would rather a face-to-face conversation, but I'm not driving to everybody's house every time I need to talk to them. Okay. So it's super important to find out how they like to communicate. Okay. And how often do you want to be updated on the progress of the transaction? Right. Has anybody ever done a transaction with Ken as your transaction manager? All right. He is relentless. All right. Hey, Mr. Seller, this happened, that happened, that happened. Every now and then, Ken gets the message. All right, I got it. You're doing your job. Stop calling me. Right? Now, it's better to have somebody tell you to stop communicating than hey, where you been? Right? We don't want that. Okay, so I'd much rather that. And I busting Ken's chops because he's not here. But we have to stay, figure out how fast they want to be. I do have one other client. He doesn't care. He wants me to tell him when I have a contract for him, when he's going to sign when it's settled. Other than that, he doesn't care. Let somebody else handle all the other details. Right? And I've sold, I have to go back 35, 40 properties for him. I've actually only talked to him, I think, twice. Right?
Yeah, they say the biggest thing they say is that your customer should never have to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that's a Monday morning for sure.
Like a game with me. I feel if my
You're cutting out a
customer
little bit
calls
there,
me and
Jerry.
asks me something, I drop the ball because I have the answer. So I'm always trying to stay ahead of it, so that they don't feel like they have to ask me a question. And of course, like Christopher said, if they don't want to know, then that's fine. But if most normal people want updates, they want to know how the showings went, right? And all that.
Yeah, one of the
I
most
can't hear you.
dangerous.
Crap.
What's that? Yeah, I think it's your connection there, Sherry. One of the most dangerous things is new construction, right? When we're dealing with a new build, not a spec home, but a new construction, a real one, where we're starting from scratch and going all the way through. A lot of times, it's going to be a year or more that we're connected to these people, and during the permitting phase, nothing's happening, right? So a lot of realtors, they feel that they don't have to call their client, right? You got to stay in touch with them, right? Hey, nothing to report, but everything is good. We're all still on track. They need to know you're there, okay? Just because you get a new construction and builder says, yeah, it'll be done in a year, we can't call back in a year and collect our paycheck. We need to stay in touch with them along the way. Plus, not only that, you get a year to build that relationship. And because it's a year, that's all that many more referrals that you can get from those clients. Make sense? All right. So if you have new construction, make sure you're keeping up with them. Doesn't have to be a long drawn out call every time, but make sure that they know that you're thinking of them.
How do you do that? I always say, I mean, you'll probably disagree. Like, I don't know, when they go to pick out the upgrades, I always say insert yourself. Like, that's something you could do live and have fun with them. I mean, otherwise they're going to say to you, why are you getting paid? Because they don't, the builder doesn't want you to do anything. You can't change the contract. You can't. So how do you do it?
So first off, you don't want to muddy the waters, right? As long as you're there overlooking, making sure that nothing is going horribly wrong, it's already been done for most of these builders. But you're there for moral support at that point. Stay in touch with them. You're right. Picking out colors. Do you think you're going to find out a lot about a person when they're picking out the colors of their home?
Hey, don't say anything with the colors of my house.
Well, but no. I'm not saying as far as what the colors are. I don't care about that. Right? But when somebody's picking it out and how analytical and stuff, it gives you a chance to bond and actually just have a conversation. Now, honestly, it is painful as hell for me. Most of the people, I mean, a lot of the builders are breaking it down into 2 appointments. These people sit there, especially on a bigger build. You're talking about at least 8 hours to pick everything out.
Boy, yeah.
All right. We just did the one over here. It took them, I think, 3 trips to the design center. Folks, I do not have the patience to sit there for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours to pick out faucets and paint colors, right? For 8 bathrooms. Right? It's not me. But I can show up, I can, be an ear for them to bounce stuff off of. I can call them, I can follow up with them. You just stay on point with them. Stay in touch. Okay? This is your chance to build that relationship. Okay? And then questions and concerns. What are your biggest concerns, worries about this transaction? Does anybody ever have any concerns going into one of these transactions? They have all sorts of stuff, right? Eddie's got his fancy hat on there, right? I don't know much about Eddie, but I know he at least likes that one hat. You know how many people I've had? At least half a dozen people that wanted full rooms for their shoes, men and women. Right? I don't get it. Right? Alicia's shaking her head because she would be all about it. But for me, I mean, I don't care about shoes. But for other people, that's what drives them. I need to know it. Okay? So they want to make sure that they have room for that shoes. Dogs, lifestyle, whatever it is, whatever the concerns are, interest rates, down payment, right? I really want to buy an RV, but I want to do it, I don't want to wait until after settlement, right? All these things. We need to ask these questions. And do you have any specific questions that need clarification? Right? Allow them to bring whatever those questions are, up to you. Make sense? Any thoughts?
I have a fantastic one.
Okay.
Ask them if they have a place to go after you sell their house. You might be surprised by the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought they were going to go live with the daughter already moved to Jacksonville. So not Jacksonville, whatever, Gainesville. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. There she's living with my other daughter. And I said, awesome. So that's where they're going to go. And I get the contract and they said, Jerry, we can't close on August 30th. We have nowhere to live. I'm like, what? Like, how did I miss that? And I thought you were going to go live with your daughter, both your daughters. And then, we'd figure it out. They're like, no, we need to buy a house. I'm like, oh crap. So, yes, it worked out. But that's, that was a doozy. I don't know why I just assumed she was already up there. So I thought that's where the mother was going to follow her. Nope.
Yeah, I like it. Any thoughts on any of that stuff? Eddie, what do you think? Do you think that using some of these questions here can help you to build rapport and maybe, help some other people out? You muted.
Yes, sir. And the more information you know about someone is going to streamline your job and keeps you from wasting time with certain things that you know that they're not going to be interested in.
Yes. We don't want to waste their time or ours. I like it. What about you, Daniel?
No, I mean, same thing. I mean, it's just getting closer to your client and get to know them, and a lot of positive thing comes out of that. When and they, they're gonna feel better, or they're gonna feel close to you, and you're probably gonna have it for for the longest time, and get more referrals out of that, because this person understands me, this person knows what I want, and things like that.
When somebody's referring you, right, they might use you, right? We've already talked about the 20% that are going to use you without, no matter what. They don't care if you show up in your pajamas, whatever. They really don't care. They just don't want to look at anybody else. But to refer you to a family member or a friend, they have to have some respect for you. Can we agree on that? And that's where this becomes super important, to build this rapport, ask the discovery questions. I promise you, you will build much stronger relationships by asking these questions beyond just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet, right? That's mechanical. We know that all square footage is not created equal. And we know that all people are not created equal, right? If I'm marketed to people the way that I want it marketed to me, I would never sell a house, right? I know this, right? Most marketing doesn't work on me, right? I don't know who's coming up with this whole, I don't know if you guys have gotten this script yet. Hi, to be honest with you, this is a cold call. If you want to hang up, now's the time. I'm like, click. I mean, and this is going on. This has been for months. Somebody's calling me with this script, and it's different people each time, right? But apparently they're getting somebody, right? I don't agree with the script, but I guess they're getting somebody if they haven't changed it.
Yeah, and Chris, I don't think that this would be a script. Especially if you're newer, and even if you're not, I think let's say you're at a consultation, whether it's a buyer or a seller, and you have these questions written out ahead of time, and you're copiously taking notes. I think that the buyer or seller will actually think that you're listening to them.
100%.
Right. So don't think that you have to go to these appointments memorizing everything. I mean, I should take my own advice, because I always forget one thing, whatever it is. I forget one thing each time. Big a deal, but sometimes it is. But if you're asking questions, clarifying, and redoing, going back, they're going to respect you even more. They're like, wow, not only is, this person listening to me, but they're writing down what I say. And that will help you. I think, Chris, you spoke of this before, like when you have a later conversation. Oh, how did Sally Sue do with her gymnastics meet? Because you wrote it down, and they're like, how did you remember that?
Yeah.
I wrote it down, so.
Yeah. And I said earlier, this is not a script, folks, right? This is not something for you to go down this list and, so tell me about your life. What are you thinking about? What's your family like? That's not what this is about. This is to have questions to work into normal conversations. Right? Right. So you want to, use these questions to strengthen those relationships. Earlier, Lauren mentioned that she likes what? The beach, thrifting, and working out. Okay. Well, I mean, those are great things, but Lauren, tell me more about that. Right? What do you like to do at the beach?
Work on my tan.
Okay. Are there any people that like surfing, surf fishing? If you've ever seen them, the people with the metal detectors that are out there digging up all sorts of stuff, right? So there's a lot of different stuff you can do at the beach. There's still more to discover there. right? Working out. What kind of workouts do you do?
I like classes the best. Weightlifting.
Classes, right? There's all different stuff, right? There's cardio. There's there's the CrossFit stuff. There's a ton of different stuff that we can dive in and ask more questions. All right. So tell me more about that. And these are things for you to build your relationships off of. Make sense? Any thoughts? Monica, you've been quiet over there. Maybe she got caught up.
I'm listening. I'm here. I'm listening. I
Okay.
had a hard time finding the mute. I agree. I think you should ask your client a lot of questions. I have a buyer who said that her number one priority was to get a house where she can walk out in the morning and have her coffee on the deck. And the two houses that we saw, she wanted to put an offer on, did not have that option. So I said, well, your number one priority is the coffee in the morning. She said, I know, but I can build a wall. But are you really going to take out a wall and put a door? She was like, I don't know. I said, okay, but that was your number one priority, remember? So she was like, yeah, you're right. Thank you. Because I would be so mad if I can't go outside in the morning and have my coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's certain things that ring out to people. And did you wind up selling her a house?
Not yet. We're still looking.
Still looking. All right,
Yeah.
but you're still working with her.
Yes,
So obviously
yes,
you haven't upset her yet. So that's cool.
And periodically she'll tell me, Monica, make sure I stay on track. Make sure I stay on track, because she will send me a property that's not what she wants.
Yeah. Yeah. And do people do that? Absolutely.
Mhm.
I know I got caught up when I was looking, all of a sudden, I walked into a model, I start contemplating spending a lot more than I wanted to, right? And got to bring myself back down to earth. And that's what our job is. Ask the questions, keep them on point. Elisa, you have any thoughts?
I think, everybody have their thing, and the quality interviewing during the time, and especially important making notes, not to forget, and actually read the notes before you call your client, even with updates, to remember about the kids, dogs, cats, and things like this that actually might help them in the future. Show them, maybe sometimes sometimes people think that they do know, but with your experience you can determine the property that you might want to show them, because that will be the better choice, because the number one priority is saving money or staying in some kind of budget, but you have a better option that what they think they're looking for, or they want to have for example, they want to work out in a beach, but then you show them something that still, like you, Chris, we have a water, and we still may have a walk out in the morning, look into the channel, and that will be beautiful. Or for example, like a lady with a slab pool, and she wants to just to have her exercising, or fence, which is important if you have a little barking doggy who wants to stay outside, but she's barking, and that's need to be a fence, and they could do a fence, but that should be a backyard big enough for this, and here and there. So again, somebody wants to go to groceries with a golf car, driving there with golf car. Somebody wants to some entertainment, somebody wants quiet. But to know all of this, you really need to communicate and make notes and follow up, 3 components, and then everything is working. It's fun how much nice, cute stories we'll have, and if between Sherry, Christopher, and Monica, and you guys, that might be like hundreds of stories that we might tell about how it's happened. Even how did you buy your own house? Chris shared his story, why you choose your house. Yeah, so sometimes we've been emotional, but other than that, if we do our job properly, the client will be grateful and will come back with referrals.
Yeah, All about, building that rapport. Okay. Any thoughts? Anyone else? This is a relationship business, right? 100%. Right. I don't care what, I have some friends, they're younger. They're big into the cold calling, and that's what their business is built on. And all they do is cold call every day. Right. They still have to build relationships, even though their relationships are shorter and they don't do a whole, and I don't understand it. They're more transactional, right? They're still building relationship for the period of time. I just don't see building relationship thrown away. Right? It's so much better to build these relationships and have people refer and refer and refer. Sound good? Can you guys think that these questions can help you as you get out there? All right. These are guidelines, folks. I'm going to send it to you in a Word document. All right. You're welcome to adjust it, add questions to it. It's a working document for you guys. All right. Think about this stuff. Ask the questions. All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It is 7 o'clock, folks.
Yay, dinner.
Let's go have some dinner, and I will talk to you guys here soon.